Hi, this is Steve, and we're about to get into a little code breaking. So, this is the John Benet Ramsey ransom note, and we were asked by law enforcement to see if we could crack what SBTC stands for. So, first, let's get into the note so we can see what we're talking about. So, let's enlarge it. So, this is the ransom note. We originally were able to discover that this word, which is supposed to be delivery, was actually a pictorial code that shows that this is definitely a ransom note. There's a gentleman here with a semi-automatic rifle pointed at the head of somebody. This person has a camera taking pictures, and there's some images here that remind us of information in another murder case. So it seems like this is an internal struggle between people, and how the Ramseys got involved, I have absolutely no idea. But we do recognize the coding techniques, especially stuff like this, how this R is different from the Ramses, the way it looks. There's actually an internal image right there. So we're familiar with this type of coding, but we hadn't attacked this area yet. There is information there that we do recognize. Like this isn't a person on the V, but the V is also very important. It's not something we're going to talk about right now, other than the fact that that represents a person, right? So, in terms of coding, what you'll notice in the type of code that we're talking about, spatialism is important, right? So, this is spaced away from here, kind of makes them separate. This central part right here is space, and then you have this last part right here, and then this is space. So the S is pushed back. These three are combined together, and then there's these dots. In this type of coding, you extract the dots as Morse code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go dot dot, and we're going to go dash dot, and then we're going to go dot dot dot. All right, so that's dot dot dash dot and dot dot dot. And what you're going to see is Morse code, images, bring some Morse code in here. So dot dot is I, and dash dot is N, and dot 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 is S. So those are the first three decoding portions of that area that we have going. So in here we have INS. A lot of people think that the victory and SBTC is saved by the Christ, the victory. That is exactly what they want you to think. And it also has a meaning in terms of what this area is trying to accomplish. But that's when you go with the Christian symbol, right? So INS Christian, or Jesus, right? It's actually INXS. So it's INXS. You could add that to it if you want to. Let's see. Jesus, is that the Jesus thing? Let's see. IN X, is that it? Symbol on cross. Jesus of Nazareth, right? Oh, here it is. That's what it is. It's INRI on the crucifix, right? Excuse me. So that's INRI. So that's not INS, but INS is what we have. So that's above the Christ thing. So what the coder is trying to do is to get you to kind of see INRI in your head so that you don't actually literally understand what you're looking at, even if you broke that part of the code. So INS is very important to stay literal when you're code breaking right there, right? Then we have this area right here. We need to figure out what that is. I actually spun it a couple of times. Let's see if I can do it here. So let's spin it. And let's see, we got to kind of save that. And then let's bring it up just to get a different view of it. So now I have a different view of it. And this is a person of some sort. What I realized was is that is an image of Jesus, right? In what's called negative light. If I put this into a word program and put this in a negative light, there's a glow around this, so it's the Jesus glow, right? So we have INS, right? Then we have a symbol of Jesus in the middle, okay? And let's see if I can get this thing to turn again for me. Okay, so we're gonna save it back like this. Let's blow it back up again. Let's bring it over. And then I have this right here, which I was wasn't exactly sure what it was at first. So I could tell this is a person looking through, and I have a suspicion about who actually did the code. They were associated with Navy intelligence. So I'm believing that this person is looking through something. I thought maybe it was a telescope, but it's turned upside down. It's not in the right position, but they're looking through something. It looks like a lens or something like that. So right there, I'm gonna just mark down there as a person looking. That's as much as I can get out of that. Now, these letters are symbols. There's more here. I can't figure it all out, right? But they are trying to give us letters. That's why they're constructed like letters. Um, so that's a letter, but even though it has a picture, it is giving you the letters. So let's take the letters. So the S is separated. Now that we extracted the dots, we just have the letters themselves. So we have S space B T C. So that's blocks. So the S goes with something and the BTC goes together. So, what clues do we have in the note that could give us an example of what this stuff is? For me, the person and the group that does this type of coding, right? Oftentimes, something like this, that little thing right there, is a map. It's some type of topography. So I needed to figure out what that was. And once you get like that piece, it kind of like comes together. So I know almost positive I know who this is, right? So since I know who this is and I believe that I know who wrote it, there are certain assumptions I can make. All right. So you have to make some assumptions. So if your assumption is correct and your logic is good and you just stick with the information, you have a good chance of solving it. So um, because of this, it's we believe it's Albert Lee Terry Jr. Albert Lee Terry Jr. is a person who has a very unique ability to make pictorials out of letters, or letters that look like letters and then turn into pictorials. Without getting into his total situation, he was a part of the Zodiac crew. That was his job to put these type of codes into their communications, and they used a lot of it to talk to each other by hiding things in plain sight. He apparently, it looks like he applied for the witness program in 1971. His burial card shows that he is, um, that he faked that it's a fake piece of paper. So where would he go? From all the information we've been able to gather, is he's somewhere in Canada, right? But we can't prove it because we haven't seen him. We kind of think we know where he is in Canada, right? We've been able to track some other code that gave us a phone number to a person that we believe is his contact point that's in Canada, a lady who is a music teacher. But we still don't have absolute confirmation where he is. But you will notice that here in the ransom note, when it talks about the hour of delivery, which are also images, but you can see the letters, like right here, is supposed to be Heure. That's French for hour. So since he's using French in an English letter, just in the hour of delivery or pickup, which is what that was supposed to suggest, right, of the money, right? So we're thinking, okay, he's in French Canada, somewhere in a French province of Canada, and that's where he wants the money. He's not going to cross the border to get the money. And he says down here, I will call you between, and that's supposed to be 8 and 10, but there's some kind of code there too, tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. So see, he's written delivery here, Delivery. So when they say, well, Patsy Ramsey was putting this together and she was really nervous and she scratched out delivery, that's not delivery. That is a picture, that is a code, but that's a different story. But he says, the delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange, and then that's hard to read. It's supposed to be an earlier delivery, but there's some more code here. And then there's delivery again. So why would she scratch out delivery up there when she's got delivery twice? So it's not her doing it. This is code. Delivery of the money. So this is about delivery of the money. It's in French. So there's something French that has to do with the money and delivery of the money. So let's write that down. We have French and delivery of the money are a theme. And at this point, since let's assume that it is Albert doing this, so we're going to make that assumption. Let's see what we can extrapolate from having that premise and then taking all these clues. So now we got all of that, right? Victory, SBTC. Took a wild shot, BTC. Bring to Canada. So we're thinking that it's going to be a trip from whoever's not in Canada. It's this person right here. So basically what we think is going on here is Albert got in the program. He didn't testify. He didn't get immunity. And when you're in the witness program, you're not in something. You just moved. You're the same person. I heard it's horrible. You don't get a lot of money. You can be sleeping in a hotel. And they never got prosecuted for the Zodiac stuff. Somehow they got worked out between the government, CIA, Navy intelligence, and the FBI was tasked with covering it up. So all those people that he worked with are living their regular lives. They're got families, kids, grandkids, never had to move, got regular jobs. He, on the other hand, is most likely in Canada, broke, ratted out his friends, and has nothing. He has no leverage over the people who put him in the program to just shut him up. Because if you don't testify, you don't get the immunity. And in the proffer that he wrote, he faked as an astrologer and put in all this information about what he would testify to. He admitted to all the Zodiac killings, of what they were and who they were. But he also threw in some killings that were in Texas that nobody would have ever associated with Zodiac. So now he's on the hook for all this stuff. Because those, few of them, the one that we looked at, it looks like, he did this personally, including the fact that he has a pictorial pictures of him in first person in the Cherry Joe Bates murder in San Diego. The only images we have of him are ones that he's drawn, right? Like way better than this. They're called like embedded images or images like this, where he shows himself with kind of a friar tuck hairstyle, where he's balding on top, and hair dropped on the side. The guy loves pictures. So, all that being said, having all that background, right? Here's this angry person in Canada who is now about to extort his friends. He's involved with some people who killed his child to make it a famous case to simply get this letter published so that he can extort this person that he seems to hate. So he's asking this person to personally take this long trip, right, to deliver his money because he's got a gun to this person's head over some information that pretty much would put them in the same jeopardy he is, the gas chamber. So he figures, I'm gonna get my pound of flesh, and I'm gonna make you come to Canada, right? Bow down to me, and he wants to extract not only the money but the pride. Make this person take the trip. He wants this person that he hates, that's living their life that he blames for whatever he did, to feel as miserable as him, right? And so that's the basic story that I was able to extract from all this. So we've got the V, we've got the Morse code, we've got Jesus, and then I found out that this is a CTL. That's Christian, that's a symbol for Catholic life insurance. Can you believe that? So there's a C, there's kind of a cross, and an L. Catholic life insurance, right? With the Jesus. And then I had to figure out what this is. So let's get to all that information. So this is what we figured out. So Catholic life insurance, that's their symbol, the CTL, right? There it is. There's the CTL for Catholic life insurance. So he's associating Catholic life insurance with the ransom money, right? You have the Jesus. There's Jesus. That's the Jesus right there. So the whole thing about that is why the Catholicism, why is that important, right? So then we also have the INS, the dot dot, dash dot, and dot dot dot, right? So remember, this S is separated. And then you have INS. That is a person in something, right? This symbol, CTL, and Jesus. This is a person who, in this letter, represents that individual. And remember, these are Morse code symbols. So the only letters we have left are these three and this one. So that's four, but it's on its own. So INSS. So INSS. That could be an anagram, right? Be pretty hard to figure out, but so what are we working with here? We have the premise that it's Albert Lee Terry Jr., right? That's his name. And that he's in Canada, and that he's running this scam, and JonBenet Ramsey is dead, and the wife is being accused of the murder because of this ransom note, which she would never have the ability, the knowledge to do something of this naval-like intelligence level, not even do the drawings, and she definitely couldn't have done that in a rush. So this is not about her, right? And again, we have evidence in other cases to show you that exact type of coding, and it's Albert Lee Terry Jr. So if we're right, and he's hiding in Canada, and he's finally frustrated enough to use the Zodiac modus operandi to, again, elevate a letter into the newspaper where people can look at it and who know the code can extract the code without any kind of lines of communication being traceable. What we need to find out is what this is. If this is to bring the money to Canada, and why the Catholic thing. Like, what's with the Jesus thing? It's not going to be about religion, although it is kind of in his head. I think he thinks it would be, you know, guy's got too much time on his hand. Like, so I say I do, but it is what it is. That's why I understand how these people work. Right? Like minds, except I'm a good person. He's evil. So here we go. Um, I decided to put INSS together. And so in SS, my first thought was, some kind of Nazi stuff, secure, secret, service, whatever. And then I said, wait, stop. This is about the money. It's about getting this guy on the road to bring the money and extract some kind of victory. See, the victory, that's the word, that's the key. He wants a victory. He just wants the money. He wants the victory. He wants to just stand over this dude and point in his face and show the hypocrisy of whatever it is he feels he's been put through, right? And I'm like, okay, so he's going to travel. Where's he going to travel to? He's going to travel to Canada. Bring the money to Canada. So there's two assumptions I'm making. One, it's Albert Lee Terry Jr., and two, that he's in Canada. But if I'm right, does this work? Without forcing it, does it work? Does it fit like pieces to a puzzle without trying to push them down? So the only SS I could think about in Canada was Saskatchewan, right? And I was like, okay, what about Saskatchewan would be important? So I went to Google Maps, right? And excuse me, I have to move paper because I don't know how to spell Saskatchewan off the top of my head. And I put in Saskatchewan, Canada. And lo and behold, Saskatchewan, Canada is next to Alberta. Right? That is not a coincidence. At that point, I'm like, I got him. Now I know what's going on. So Saskatchewan's next to Alberta, Canada. I'm like, well, what is it about Alberta that's important here? And then I look over here and I go, oh, wait a minute. We got Prince Albert in Saskatchewan. I'm like, I got him. I got this guy. I caught him. I know what he's doing. Now I am all on top of this brother. Right? So we got Prince Albert. So he's so bad. Now he's a prince. Okay, so Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. This is what it looks like. This is how it's built, right? It's got a little airport. It's Prince Albert. And check this out. Let's put that down, right? And let's bring this up. Let's bring this down. And let's bring this over and then pop this on top. I want you to notice something. Let me scoot that over a little bit. And let's get rid of that. And let's move this over. That, my friends, is that. Right? So if you just lop off this top part right here, then it's a tunnel, skinny little tunnel, and then a fat part down at the bottom. And then he's kind of closing it out. So if you square it from here to here and here to here, you actually get Prince Albert Airport right there. Right? So he's telling, I'm gonna let you just sit there and just breathe that in. All right, so let's bring it down a little bit. So we're taking this part right here and this part right there. And he's looking through a telescope or something. He's saying, I will see you at Prince Albert Airport in Saskatchewan. So now we know at least where he's telling this guy to go, right? He's saying, I want you to come to Prince Albert in Saskatchewan, INSS, right? The Morse code is INS and S. So in Saskatchewan, bring to Canada, bring your ass and the money, right, to Canada, to Prince Albert, right? But, okay, so now I need to know what's going on with the Jesus thing. And that's what it actually got pretty easy. So the Catholic symbol, right? I'm like, okay, so we got the Jesus Catholic thing in Prince Albert in Saskatchewan. So he wants to come to Prince Albert Airport in Prince Albert, and it has something to do with Jesus in Saskatchewan, and he wants him to bring the money to Canada because it's going to be a trip. Remember, he told us it's going to be a trip. Well, since I was a Catholic, it wasn't too hard to figure out that. Let's see, I don't have a picture of it. How did I represent that? Oh, okay. So in Prince Albert, there is one Catholic church, St. Joseph's Parish, and it is a French-speaking parish, and it is the only one in Prince Albert. Catholic Life Insurance has been in business since the 1800s, so that symbol makes it for the date. Prince Albert Airport, we've already established that, right? And see, did I have another picture of? Well, let me try this really quickly just to give it to you. I think I actually saved it. Legs. Oh, it's not there. Prince Albert, Canada, French Catholic Church. This video is longer than it should be, but I really want you to see this. Roman Catholic Diocese of Prince Albert, churches in the diocese. Let me just be a little bit more specific. Okay. Joesph. Prince Albert, Canada, French Catholic Church, St. Joseph's Parish. That's the one. Here we go. See where it's in French? I'm glad I took the time so I can prove to you. It is hard to find a picture of this place. Hard to find a picture of Albert Lee. Can't find the church. I mean, it is crazy. So Angles de Saint Joseph, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. It is the French-speaking church in Saskatchewan, in Prince Albert. So this is where he wanted this guy to go. So this is it. Ultimately, wrap it up. This V represents an individual. We know who that person is. The code is from Albert Lee Terry Jr. The dot, dash dot, and dots are letters, which is I and S. You have to look at things in blocks. So that V is separate, the Catholic symbol and Jesus are separate. That little thing looking through there, he's saying, I will see you, Prince Albert County. And the church is like right in here. bring to Canada. And then remember, in the letter, it said, you better be prepared. It's going to be a long trip. So the victory part of the JonBenet Ramsey ransom letter tells the person where to go, all the way to the actual parish, if you understand the code. So if they call or if they print, if they do skywriting, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that they communicate to this person, all it has to do is be a date and a time. That's all that's left. There doesn't have to be any other instructions that are sent. And they can do that in any way. You know, it could be, it could look like a telephone number. It could look like you would think it was a zip code or something, but it's broken up in such a way that it would be a date in military time, right? There's so many ways, but they got it all the way down to just having to transfer the date and the time, which is what the guy says in the letter, right? That's why he says, right, we'll give you the time of delivery or pickup. So that's all that has to be done. Everything else is in the letter. So there's a lot more code in here, but that right here are the delivery instructions for the ransom. I want you to bring my money, my victory, my restitution. I want you to bring it to Canada in the ... dash and ... in Saskatchewan to Prince Albert. You know, I don't know if they call them cities, community, whatever. But you're gonna go. I'll see you in Prince Albert. There's an airport, and I'll meet you at the Catholic Church, the St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Prince Albert in Saskatchewan. Right? Can you imagine? So they're gonna be watching the church. This guy shows up with a suitcase or whatever, a backpack. He's all alone. He's taking a long trip. He knows he's got this gun to his head about whatever he's done in his past. And then this crazy dude is waiting for him. And so Albert, I guess, is gonna, walk in and either be in the confessional, right? Or in the pews. If you know anything about Catholic churches, it's cold. You got like a, marble floor, wooden benches. Confessional is a great place, or kneeling next to Mary or something and praying to a candle. And he's going to look this guy in the eye. And he's going to say, give me my money. And he's going to say whatever he wants to say. He basically wants to spit in the dude's eye and send him home with his tail between his legs, because he feels that he got a choice mistake. He made all the choices he ever made in his life: to kill people, to do this coding, to turn on his friends, to try to get in the witness program, and got caught up in a catch-22 where he didn't get immunity for all those murders because he didn't testify. Because the key is, if you testify, you have to testify truthfully to get the immunity. But if you never testify, you don't get shit. And you don't have any leverage. So that's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Now let that sit there so that you can take your own time to go through it or get a screen capture. But the victory of the JonBenet Ramsey ransom letter is Albert Lee Terry Jr.'s revenge.